The movie I chose to do my presentation on is Girl Interrupted. So, the psychological disorder portrayed by the main character, Susanna Kaysen, was borderline personality disorder. For Susanna, I feel that the fact that she dropped out of school and had an affair with a teacher is surely a problem that could be linked to the symptoms of borderline personality disorder. One of the symptoms for this disorder is poor impulse control, which in my opinion is probably what led to the affair with the teacher in the first place, even though she knew it was inappropriate. Susanna also attempted suicide by taking too much aspirin, and reoccurring suicide attempts is one of the symptoms as well. Since there is no reoccurring attempts, I'm not 100% buying the fact that Susanna has borderline personality disorder. I think that if they really wanted to give a realistic portrayal of this, that they would have delved a little deeper and exaggerated Susanna's symptoms a bit more. I think that Susanna's narration in the movie showed her struggle with herself and having an unstable sense of self, which is a symptom of borderline personality disorder. I find that this is probably a casual factor because I think everybody has some type of struggle with themselves that they need to work out in their lives. So I don't necessarily think this is a hard symptom of the disorder. Treatment for Susanna included medication and therapy in the movie. In the past, borderline personality disorder has been pegged kind of hard to treat. With advancements in science and research, though, it's now common for people diagnosed with borderline personality disorder to be treated by a specialist in the disorder with different types of therapy. There aren't any specific medications to be taken, so the fact that the movie gives her medication might be a little bit off. But the movie did take place in the 60s, and there wasn't much research on the disorder, so she probably didn't need to be admitted to a mental institute, definitely not for 2 years. I also don't think that the medication was necessarily needed. Some therapy with somebody specializing in borderline personality disorder, I think would have been very beneficial for Susanna. Being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, I think that she had an affair with her teacher, left school, probably had a great impact on her life, partially because it stopped her education. In addition, I also think getting admitted to the mental hospital for 2 years, which made her lose out on a large chunk of time, I think that the impact was realistically portrayed. She was exposed to a lot of other girls in the hospital with some hefty mental problems, and I think it opened her eyes and made her look inward on her problems as well. The question of how I think it would be to live with a mental illness, oddly enough, I chose this particular movie because I myself have borderline personality disorder, and I also have bipolar 2. So I can really relate to this movie. I do wish that they would have put a little more emphasis on Susanna and her disorder. Living with it can be difficult at times, but I think with the right support system, it's definitely manageable. I take medication for my bipolar, and I have a great support system. My husband and my family, they really help me get through tough times. So I believe that the two disorders go kind of hand in hand with some of their symptoms, such as like impulsive behavior. Those definitely overlap. I've seen the movie numerous times. It's actually one of my favorites. So I do wish that there was more of an in-depth look into the borderline personality disorder, but I also think that they did a fair job portraying mental illness with the characters. I think that what they were given, the actors did their best to portray the mental illnesses in the movie as realistically as they possibly could. I also think that since the movie was released in 1999, we still didn't have as much knowledge about the disorders as we do now. So given the time that it came out and the knowledge that we had, I think it was a fair portrayal. In conclusion, borderline personality disorder is normally characterized by mood swings and uncertainty in oneself. Often people diagnosed with borderline personality disorder see things in extremes. So if one thing goes wrong, everything is bad, and if something goes right, then life is absolutely wonderful. It often has an effect on relationships because of the intense swing in feelings. Somebody who's your best friend one day could end up being your enemy the next, maybe simply because they didn't answer a text message or a phone call. The disorder runs more prevalent in women, with nearly 75% of people being diagnosed are female. And there are some factors that play a role in causing borderline personality disorder, such as genetics. No specific gene has been linked to the disorder, but research has shown that it's more common for those who are diagnosed to have a close relative, such as somebody in their immediate family with the disorder as well. Also, it's common in other mental illnesses. Traumatic life events can trigger borderline personality disorder. Someone who has experienced sexual or physical abuse or even separation from their parents could be at a higher risk than people who haven't. For the disorder, therapy is the first line of defense with treatment. Unfortunately, there is no magic medication that can be taken to control the symptoms, but there are medications that can be prescribed to patients to help control certain symptoms related to the disorder itself, such as mood stabilizers. But therapy is always a first choice to help people learn how to cope with their emotions and the issues that they may be experiencing due to the disorder.